I'm a designer and I am founder of Adventure Stories. So who's Adventure Stories? Well, we are a new multidisciplinary brand design practice. We focus on brand, yet we work cross-channel from identity through to print, packaging, digital, environmental, the works. And we are based here, upstairs, in this lovely place, Mainyard Studios. And having moved here when we founded the business at the end of the summer, I have to say it's been an absolutely fantastic decision so far. Really loved working here. It's a really great community. I came from working in the industry in large companies, and I knew I didn't want to work from home. I knew I wanted lots of social contact around me, and working in a co-working space like Mainyard Studios really offers a really great social environment to work in on a day-to-day basis. Yet, at the same time, it allows me to focus on my own work, yet attend fantastic and networking events like the one this evening. Here's a bit of an overview of what we get up to at Adventure Stories. As I said, the focus is brand, but really sort of cross lots of different disciplines, from new craft Cornish rum on the left-hand side, to typographic design for a new Nikon launch, to digital startups, luxury travel agents, and a local community restaurant. We really sort of cover the spectrum of design, really. So before I talk more about Adventure Stories, what I'm going to do is sort of rewind a bit and tell you a bit more of the background of myself and what are the decisions I've made to inform where I've got to today. Well, I've always been passionate about design and the arts and visual culture, and growing up I knew I always wanted to work in this field. When I went to university, I was lucky enough to attend the Norwich University of the Arts and had a fantastic 3 years studying for a BA in graphic design there. And that was really immensely helpful in giving me a great grounding in design. And having graduated from there, I came down to London to enter the industry, and I've been in the industry for over 13 years now. And in that time, I've worked at a whole spectrum of London branding agencies, a number of which are listed up here, from starting off working in unpaid internships through to becoming junior designer, working my way up to becoming design director and associate partner. And in that time, I've had the pleasure of both designing for and overseeing teams working on national and international clients across identity, product design, the whole spectrum of design. And I really, really appreciate all of that experience. I think if there's one sort of key piece of advice I'd give to anyone considering starting a creative startup, particularly if the category of your business is one that's well covered already, such as mine, design, then getting real industry experience is really invaluable. I think ultimately, if you're in a highly saturated market such as the design industry, all of your competitors are going to be really experienced. And so you need to get the edge on them by getting that experience first, so you can really know the industry inside out before you decide what move you're going to make. So whilst I was in the industry, towards the latter part of my 13 years in the industry, I had a little bit of a sort of an epiphany moment. And that was when I started to look back. And I was looking back and I was thinking, earlier on in my career, maybe when I was in my first couple of years, I spent all my working day doing this, which is what I'm passionate about, design. Yet it seemed that as time went on and I moved into more management roles, that ultimately it felt like the amount of time that I spent doing design diminished and diminished until it was only a sort of a fraction of my day. And the rest of my day was taken up by all of this other stuff, which may be familiar to anyone who's sort of worked within a large business. And this, I think, is a sort of a fairly standard trajectory for anyone working within a large industry. I think there's an irony of lots of different fields, and that irony being the more of that thing you do that you're trained to do, the less of it you actually do, because all of these other things take over. And I really decided that I wanted to sort of get back to design. You could suggest that I was by any standard definition, achieving a certain standard of success doing all of this stuff. Yet, definitions of success are interesting things. And I just thought I'd bring up this article that was in the Metro before Christmas. It's a somewhat depressing, if amusing, article, which cites a public survey done in what the general public see as things that define traits of successful people as being. And they range from owning a log burner to having a wine cellar to having the full Sky Plus package to number 2, not even having to work. And on finishing reading this, I found this somewhat depressing. First and foremost, because it didn't include my key definition, my personal definition of what it is to be successful, which is doing what you love. And if I could title my talk anything today, it would be The Pursuit of Doing What You Love. And I decided at the end of last summer to do just that and get back to doing this. So as such, I started Adventure Stories. Well, why call it Adventure Stories, you may ask? It was very much my personal adventure to start this business. The business is tailored towards working with lots of startups and small artisan brand owners, and that is their adventure, and together we go on fantastic journeys. I've started the business with my partner Frances. She's a designer, she's a freelance designer. She doesn't work full-time in the business. She has sort of a slightly different area of skills and design, so she joins in on certain projects and then works freelance elsewhere the rest of the time. So we have a very specific way in which we're set up. We are, as I said, design-focused, yet we're a small team, keeping the key expertise in-house. And that allows us to make all of those key creative decisions, the conceptual decisions, etc., that we need to, but it allows us at the same time to then draw on a whole world of network of experienced freelancers when we need to pool specific resource. This means that we don't have large overheads because we're not employing a huge amount of designers, and at the same time, that allows us to pass that on to our clients with reasonable rates. We have a very specific philosophy on branding, and this has been informed by my time in the industry, and it is the key way in which we define what we do. And that philosophy is that the best brand identities are the ones which create emotional connections. When we talk to our clients, we always say that their brand identity should represent how they want people to feel about their brand, not representing the functional aspects of what it is that they do. So what do we mean by this? Well, I'm going to finish off this talk by giving you a quick case study that demonstrates this principle in action. So we've been working with a business who are also based upstairs in Mainyard, and they are experts in creating intranets for organizations. And they take what are otherwise very intimidating and complex entities and make them friendly and approachable and easily digestible for organizations to achieve. And they created this identity themselves before they came to us in an attempt to brand themselves. And they'd created an identity which sought to sort of summarize the sum of parts of what they were about. It had a phone, it had a computer, the cloud, all of the visual elements you may associate with accessing intranets. And it had a name, SleekStart 365, an attempt to summarize perhaps the smoothness with which they do business. Yet, it was felt that this was somewhat unable to elicit an emotional connection in people. And so what we did is we sat down with them and we started from scratch to see how we could build a compelling brand for SleekStart. And we defined a brand essence for them. And by that we mean a new way, a more emotional way of thinking about what they do. And we thought ultimately what they really are is they are home builders. Intranets are homes, albeit digital ones, for businesses. They are creators of digital homes. And that really got us thinking. And that allowed us to come up with the concept of the weaver bird. Now, the weaver bird is a really fascinating bird. It is nature's finest nest builder. It is a master at building the most intricate, the most well-constructed, beautiful nests. And we started to think, well, this is a fantastic parallel for this company and how they build great intranets. So as such, we created the icon of the Weaver bird for this brand, a concise, simple, contemporary icon for the modern age, and we created a snappy, simple name which evokes that idea of nest building. In turn, we then expanded this brand out across a graphic look and feel to include a photographic palette that romanced the idea of bespoke home building, and then brought this to life across digital, print platforms, and then in turn something else that we're really passionate about with brands, which is copywriting and bringing to life the tone of voice. So how can the way the brand speaks, really build on the way that it looks visually? In this instance, presenting Roostpak as speaking in a very approachable and friendly way, yet as authoritative experts. So that concludes the case study and this part of the talk. I'll move on to any questions.